Hello, so I am making another video now. Obviously. Oh, oopsies, I unplugged my phone, it was charging. I don't like doing that. I hate unplugging my phone when it's like in the middle of charging. It just seems inherently wrong. Okay, but the sacrifices I make for this video. Today I'm gonna do another tag because I have this like title pairs thing on my channel that I want to stick to, even though it's like so hard to stick to it. But basically I want like each video to have a pair and like to have like the same start to the title, so whatever. So I'm gonna do another tag because the last video I did was the mom tag, and then this one I also want the video title to start with the word the, so here we are. This is called the Growing Up Asian American tag. I'm gonna just call it the Growing Up Asian Canadian tag because I'm Canadian. So number one is which ethnicity, or I guess what ethnicity are you? I already did another tag video that's kind of similar to this. It's called the ethnicity tag. But I feel like this one has questions that are more about like, I guess, Asian culture, so I thought it would be cool to do. So which ethnicity am I? I am Chinese on my dad's side. Well, Shanghainese to be specific, because Shanghainese culture is actually a little different from other cultures in China. Obviously China is a huge country and like there's lots of cultures, like dozens of cultures from China, and they're all different and unique in their own way. They all have their own traditions and their own dialects and their own history. Like Shanghai is like a huge port city in China. It has a very, very long history, and people from Shanghai kind of, I feel like they are kind of stereotyped in a way. Like I think people from other parts of China or from other parts of Asia might think that Shanghainese people are like, they might have like certain associations with Shanghainese people, like maybe that Shanghainese people are snobby or something, which could be true. Well, I know that my mom, like growing up, I always had her tell me, because my mom's not Shanghainese, my dad's side of the family is Shanghainese, and she kind of has a lot of associations with them, and like she thinks of a lot of like negative traits about Shanghainese people to tell me, you know, while I was growing up, even though I'm Shanghainese too. But this is what she would say. So she would say that Shanghainese women are really into themselves and they love doing beauty and like love doing their makeup and love dressing up and looking nice. And my mom is from the countryside in Taiwan, so she's not really like that. So I think she always had this perception of like city girls, like big city girls, as being like really vain and rich and not really into like doing chores or like more conceited type of thing. So that's kind of like what she thinks about Shanghainese women. So when I was younger and I was really into like girly stuff, she would say like I'm like a Shanghainese woman, because she associates those things with like girls from Shanghai or girls from big cities, like even Taipei and stuff like that. Because a lot of the people in Taipei are like people from China. They're like rich, they have China money, and they come to Taiwan because, you know, like Chinese government stuff is like weird, and so they come to Taiwan and like they're really rich and stuff. But then my mom's family is from Taiwan, and her family was actually in Taiwan for like so many generations, like almost 400 years, 300, 400 years, something like that. So Taiwan was a really poor country like before all these like Chinese mainlanders came in and like for multiple like political reasons came into Taiwan and like started doing their businesses there and everything. Like so Taiwan was really poor before then, and like so her family is like generations of like kind of like more like countryside people, like farmers kind of, or just really poor. So like I don't know, my mom, she grew up on like a farm that had like ducks or chickens or something. So it's kind of different from people who are from mainland China. Like, there is this perception that mainland Chinese people are more of like urban people who come from cities with lots of I mean, this isn't true because obviously there's lots of rural areas in mainland China, but people from like the big cities like Shanghai and Beijing are from like these urban areas, obviously, that have a lot of development, factories and stuff like that, and probably didn't grow up with chickens. So yeah, so my mom's side is from like 400 years of Taiwan history, and then my dad's side, they were in Shanghai for a very long time. I think especially on my dad's maternal ancestry line, I think that his paternal line might have come from somewhere outside of Shanghai. Yeah, but they all speak Shanghainese. Like, they're like legit Shanghainese people who speak Shanghainese. And I think my mom, she felt really left out and excluded whenever she would go to Shanghai in the past with my dad, because she couldn't understand anything they were saying, and they're kind of like, she thought they were uppity because they would just speak Shanghainese and like not speak Mandarin. I mean, that makes sense, I guess. Oh wow, it's already 6 minutes and I've only done number 1. I should do the next question. Okay, number 2. Which generation are you? So I was first generation. I was the first person in both my mom's side and my dad's side to ever be born in North America, in Canada. So I'm like my dad's first, I'm not like, I am. I'm my dad's first kid, and I'm my mom's first kid, and I'm both sets of grandparents' first grandchild to be born in North America, if that makes sense. So I'm first in everything. Yeah. Number 3, what's the first experience where you felt that demarcation of being a minority or being different? I feel like I was not super early in figuring that out. Like, the thing that I felt most different about when I was a kid, when I was like 5 or going to kindergarten and stuff, is I just felt that my family was so poor because we lived in a really small apartment. Like, me, my mom, and my sister, we shared like one mattress. And I just like got the feeling, I don't know how I knew, but I just knew that like other kids at my school weren't like that. Like, they probably had their own bunk bed or something. I eventually got my own bunk bed, so like hooray for me, that was cool. And then so I think the thing I felt most different about was that I was poor. I felt really poor because even like with our silverware, we didn't really have like that many metal spoons. We would just use like takeout plastic spoons. Like, we would just use those like, you know, plastic spoons to eat food. So I just felt poor. And like, also everybody at school, in elementary school, had like these really yummy Dunkin' kangaroo thingies, like Dunkaroos. They're like these little kangaroo crackers, and then you dunk them into like these like cream dips that are sugary. And I was so jealous of that because like I didn't get to have like a cool snack like that, you know, parents would buy from the grocery store. I mean, you know, those like brand name snacks and stuff are probably kind of more on the expensive side. I think I did have Kool-Aid, which I liked. So I felt very different because I was poor, or I perceived myself as being poor. And I didn't really recognize that I was like not white, I think. I mean, like, my idols were Mary-Kay and Ashley Olsen, and they're blonde and blue-eyed, and I didn't really, well, I just thought I admired like blonde, blue-eyed people, or like other like multicolored featured people. Like, I don't know, I just felt like that was the only thing I saw on TV, as I saw like these white girls. So I thought that's what beautiful was. And I also thought that that was like the only type of person you could have in books and stuff. So whenever I was drawing, I wrote books and illustrated books when I was a kid because I was bored and I was really artistic as a kid. So I would just get these like papers that my dad would recycle, and I would take them out of the recycling box, and then I would make them into little storybooks. And all the characters I drew were like white because I also watched anime too when I was younger, like Sailor Moon. And even Sailor Moon characters, they do look white because they have blonde hair, blue eyes, or green eyes, or whatever colored eyes, right? So I made people have like white coloring, if that makes sense. So I just kind of thought that's like the only thing you can put into books. Like I didn't know that there was such a thing, and there probably wasn't really that much of Asian American content back then, because there definitely just wasn't. So I just didn't think it was possible that I could put like someone that looks like me in that. But I did make like this thing called The Adventures of Julie and Joyce. So I did draw myself and my sister, and I drew like my actual hair color. I didn't like change my actual hair color in the drawings. I just drew me and my sister the way we actually look. But it was like a ripoff of the Adventures of Mary Kate and Ashley book series. Yes, so I guess I did put myself into these stories, but I mostly still drew white looking girls. Number 4, were you always proud of your heritage, or was there a time you rejected it? I think when I was like younger, I was proud of the fact that I was so skinny, because I was like toothpick skinny, and I think I felt proud about that because I guess the anorexic look was popular then. I don't know, it was just like there was I don't know, I think in the 90s or the 2000s there was this trend of being really thin was being really thin was in. That's what I'm trying to say. So yes, there was that, and I think that I was skinny because a lot of Asian American little kids are skinny, really skinny, and I liked that, but I think because I had mostly like white friends, I think like I remember one time someone said, wow, like your eyelashes are like non-existent, they're like so short, it's like amazing how short they are, like I've never seen eyelashes as short as yours. And I was like, oh, I felt really self-conscious and I felt embarrassed, I guess. But like yeah, I mean, I think I did have like this inner jealousy that I wasn't white. I mean, sadly the truth. Was there a time where I rejected my heritage? Well, I grew up in churches, and in my church, like the older people there had this saying that like us kids, we were bananas, like we were Asian yellow skin tone on the outside, but we were white on the inside. And so I guess I kind of like even took pride in that, in being white on the inside, whatever that means, as if being white on the inside is like makes me better than like these fresh off the boat Asians who are yellow on the inside. So I kind of had this like superiority complex about myself being Canadian, or like Canadian on the inside, whatever that's supposed to mean. But just kind of like having this like culture that's apparently better than people from Asia. Like I did look down on people who didn't know English, because I was like, well, I'm cooler than you because I know English. I don't know, I guess that's what I thought as a kid. And yeah, I didn't want to associate with people from like Korea or from China or whatever who would just move here and move into my class. I didn't want to be seen as the same as them because I felt like they were seen as different, and I didn't want to be seen as different. I guess I didn't want to be bullied or something, but like, yeah, I wasn't, in my head, I was like discriminatory against them. I mean, I mostly had white friends, I think, so yeah, not something I'm proud of, because now I think like people from Korea or from wherever else are cool, and like there's something you can learn from everyone, and I want to be more connected with my Chinese culture now. Like when I was a kid I didn't, so that's like a big change. I want to like learn Mandarin more, and I even watch like Mandarin speaking YouTubers sometimes. My favorite YouTuber who speaks Mandarin is this woman named Emma O, and she is also Canadian. She lives in Ontario, and all her videos are in Chinese. They all have like Chinese titles and everything, and she's kind of like a beauty fashion YouTuber, and so I watch her videos to try to learn Mandarin, even though I'm probably only learning beauty and fashion terms, but oh well. She is from mainland China somewhere, I don't know where, but yeah, and I aspire to that. Like I wish I could read and write Chinese so well that, and speak it so well that I could make videos that were like hers and like have them be with Chinese titles and like attract Chinese viewers or Taiwanese viewers. So when I was younger, I definitely was not like that. So I guess you could call that a rejection period of my culture, or like my heritage culture. Number 5, what are some stereotypes that you struggle with? Well, stereotypes that I struggle with. I think this might sound weird, but like when I was, oh my god, this video is so long. When I was younger, I didn't really want to be seen as good at math, because I felt like that was a stereotype of Asians. And I honestly am not that good at math. Like maybe if that stereotype didn't exist, then I would be more keen to try to learn math, but like I just didn't associate math with something that I should be seen doing, because I just didn't think it was artsy. I mean, like I'm a really artsy person, and I wanted to be seen as not a science math geek. I kind of like looked down on that, and I thought that it's just not, I don't know, like maybe I didn't think it was feminine, or I didn't think that, I just didn't want to be like one of those people who like doesn't wear makeup and like just does math and science homework and wears glasses. Like I really resent, like I do wear glasses now, but that's because of university. I had to read so much during university. I've done 4 years of university, so that kind of like ruined my eyesight. But so I do wear glasses now, but like when I was younger, I did not, like I was like always bragging about how my eyesight was good. Well, not always, but like in my head it was something I was proud of, which sounds really silly now, I guess, but I don't like to be nerdy. I don't know, I'm honestly not good at math, but maybe if these opinions and like perceptions weren't floating around, I might have tried harder at math. I do remember though, even in grade 4, I like got like a C in math or something, like a B in math. I don't know, it was like a really embarrassing grade, because like I was just so bad at doing timetables. But my dad, he would always like make me do timetables every day to like get it into my head, and I don't know, I'm still not good with, I'm not good with math, especially if there's like a time crunch. So that's, I guess, one stereotype that I've experienced. And I feel like because I'm an actor, I think that sometimes I feel like people who are casted on American TV shows or American content, media, film, TV, that they look very stereotypically Asian. And I felt like I didn't look exactly like that. Like, I felt like there is this stereotype that Asians are supposed to have a wider, flatter nose. But like even when I go to China, like people are just like on the street and they're like, oh my god, your nose is so... The Chinese word for it is ting. 你的鼻子很挺. That's what they'll say. It's a compliment. It means that I have like more of a Caucasian looking like slope to my nose, basically. That my nose slope is, my nose bridge is high. Like my nose bridge is like high, and that I have like a narrow nose, or I don't know, but I have a Caucasian looking nose. That's kind of like the thing that they want, because they want their noses to not look flat or wide. That's like not attractive in Asian beauty standards. But then in like Asian American TV, or I don't know if that's what you should call it, but like the Asians that I see on TV, sometimes I feel like, well, maybe they were casted because they fit this kind of like small eyes and flat nose and big lip stereotype of how Asians are supposed to look like. And yes, lots of Asians have these features, but like I think not a lot of I mean, depends on where in China you're from, but there are Chinese people who don't really have wider noses. It depends, I think, on where in China you're from, or it just depends on your genes, your gene pool. But yeah, so I feel like there is this kind of stereotype of, oh, that's what Asians look like because that's what we draw Asians to look like. For example, if you look at the Disney Mulan movie, like they draw Asians in a certain way with like the tilt on their eyes and the large bulbous nose sometimes. And not all Asians look like that. Number 6, can you speak your language? Yes, 我会说中文，但是我的中文，我觉得我的中文很差，还有我的中文有口音。So what I just said is, yes, I can speak Mandarin, but I think my Mandarin is poor. My language levels are poor. And that I have this like North American twang to it. I have like a Canadian accent to my Mandarin. Number 7, how has being Asian American affected your relationship with your parents? Well, being, I think I kind of resented my mom because I was raised by my mom, and I resented her because she didn't really speak English, and I had to basically, like, whenever we had notices from school, I had to like tell her where to sign. She wouldn't read it because she doesn't know how to read it, and I would just explain to her like what it means or not explain. But I don't know, I feel like there was kind of like a lack of like that parental figure, because she couldn't really help me with anything because everything was in English and she didn't know what it meant. So she couldn't really help me with anything, and I resented that because she didn't really know English, so I had to fend for myself and kind of parent myself, or like use the internet to parent myself, because there was this language barrier. Like, I didn't understand some things she was saying, and she didn't understand most of the things that I would say, especially if I was speaking in English, and I kind of lost Mandarin. Like, I'm definitely not as good at Mandarin as I was when I was 4. Like, when I was 4, oh yeah, I was so good at Mandarin because that was the only language we spoke at home. But then when I went to school, like, I learned English. I was actually even in ESL because they thought, I don't know, they thought that English was my second language. So in grade 2, I was in ESL, even though I was actually really good at English. So I don't know why I was there. It was probably just because of racism or something. So I was there anyway, and anyway, end result is I am much more fluent in English than Mandarin. I did take Mandarin in high school. It was my language. Like when you get into university, you need to have a language requirement, so that was my language that I used. So I did take Mandarin in high school so that I could get into university with that Mandarin language background. But I still don't consider myself to be very good at Mandarin. So I think that's the basic thing that has affected my relationship with my parents, is the language barrier. My parents are actually not, like, maybe my dad would have been, but my mom is the one who raised me, so I don't know about him. But my mom was kind of supportive of me being artsy and stuff, so that wasn't really a big issue as much. Like, sure, maybe she would have, like, both of my parents wanted me to, like, grow up and be a teacher. Not gonna happen, I hope. They were like, oh yeah, you should go like to Asia and like teach English because you know English so well, but like it's not really my interest. I like to create art, and my mom was kind of supportive of that, because I think when she was younger, she actually like snuck out of her house when she was a kid, when she was like a teenager, and she took painting lessons, and I still see her like paintings and stuff in her sketchbooks that she still has. So she is artsy too, and so she wasn't too like mean about that, like, oh, you have to become a teacher, you can't pursue the arts. She wasn't like that. Like, she even wanted me to be in an arts high school. It's just that I didn't want to leave all my friends, so I didn't end up going to the arts high school. Like, she put me on the waiting list and everything, and then I got accepted because there was a really long waiting list for that arts high school, but then I just decided not to go. So, you know, maybe I should have. I probably should have, but oh well. The past is in the past. And she put me in painting lessons and stuff when I was younger, so I did painting lessons. So I feel like that stereotype about Asian parents being like, oh, you have to become a doctor, or you have to become a teacher or a lawyer, or a police officer, like, yes, it exists, but like my parents aren't that strict about that. They weren't really like, you must get straight A's or else. They even told me I should go to like community college. Like, it was my choice to go to UBC, not community college. So they just thought that I should go to like a college that's really close to home, and then I wouldn't have to go far away. And then they also said that it was okay if I get C's. Well, my dad said this. He was like, it's okay if you get C's in school, in high school. Like, for me, I didn't want to get C's because I just didn't want to fail or like seem stupid. So I did want to get straight A's for myself, like, but that was like a pressure that I put onto myself. My dad was like, you should get C's and stuff, you should just relax and not stress yourself out. So yeah, not all Asian parents are strict about school. Number 8, how do you feel about your heritage now? Do you identify with it? Yeah, I identify with it, of course. I love it. I really like Taiwan, and I really like China. I love Shanghai. I've never really been, well, yeah, I've never been to any other part of China, so I can't speak for the rest of China because I've never been there. But I've been to Shanghai, and I do like Shanghai. For me, I associate Shanghai with my grandpa, so yes, I like my grandpa. And then Taiwan, I think I do like visiting Taiwan more than Shanghai, even though Taiwan, I feel like there's more mosquitoes there. There's a lot of mosquitoes in Shanghai too, because they're both by the water, and I have a phobia of mosquitoes. So I try not to go when it's really hot, but I like Taiwan, I think, better than Shanghai because they have night markets and they have like 7-Elevens everywhere, which is kind of weird, but I just really like their 7-Elevens because they're kind of like convenience stores that have everything. They have like pads, tampons, whatever, and then they also have these, like, I don't know, I just think it's so cute. I just like their 7-Elevens a lot. There's literally a 7-Eleven every 5 steps in Taiwan. So that's kind of like what I think of when I think of Taiwan. And I also think of all of their drinks, because bubble tea came from Taiwan, and like in Taiwan there's a lot of drinks places, and they're all, I mean, I've had some that were not good, but I just think that I prefer the ones in Taiwan to the ones in North America. Like there's boba in the US, and then there's bubble tea in Canada, but like in Taiwan I feel, I don't know, it's just not as expensive. Like here, one bubble tea is like $8 or something. And in Taiwan, it's cheaper, but I don't know how many like alternative milks they have because I'm vegan and I haven't been to Taiwan in a while, and I'm not sure, like at the night market I probably wouldn't be able to get bubble tea because they probably use dairy. I don't know. They have a lot of soy milk beverages in Taiwan too, so I guess maybe they have soy milk options? I don't know. Yes, so I like being Taiwanese. I like being Shanghainese, even though I can't speak either of those dialects. I wish I could speak Taiwanese and Shanghainese, but I can't. I'm just trying to float my way through Mandarin. Number 9, what's your favorite thing about being Asian American or your heritage? Favorite thing about it is the history, probably. Like I really like researching like my history, or like the history of China and like Taiwan especially, because I feel there's actually not that much documentation on the history of Taiwan, and there's not a lot of movies and literature even from Taiwan too, because I took this course in university about like Taiwan literature and film and stuff. I took Taiwan film, I took Taiwan literature. I don't remember if they were separate classes or not. Anyway, I was just interested in learning more about Taiwan, and I think there's just not a lot of film from there. But the thing I want to say is that I want to like contribute, like maybe in the future if I become a filmmaker, I want to be able to tell stories about Taiwan that haven't been told. And yeah, that's just kind of like where my tingly senses are, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really need to end this video. It's so long, I'm so sorry. Bye.